He was incredulously saying, the founding fathers did this? Yeah, well, you can read Thomas Jefferson's own words where he talks about exterminating Native Americans. If we are constrained to lift a hatchet against any tribe, we will never lay it down until that tribe is exterminated or driven beyond the Mississippi. Thomas Jefferson to Secretary of War General Henry Dearborn, August 28, 1807. They have seduced the greater part of the tribes within our neighborhood to take up the hatchet against us, and the cruel massacres they have committed on the women and children of our frontiers, taken by surprise, will oblige us now to pursue them to extermination or drive them to new seats beyond our reach. Thomas Jefferson, letter to Alexander von Humboldt in 1813.
Dr. Charles Lowe, the National Institute for Health, recommended mandatory abortion for any unmarried girl found to be within the first 3 months of pregnancy, and mandatory sterilization of any such girl given birth out of wedlock for a second time. However, Fannie Lou Hamer intervened and it was canceled. And everybody should know who Fannie Lou Hamer was. That powerful black woman who never gets enough props from our community for what she did for blacks during the 60s. By herself. Death threats, beatings, etc., etc. And Fannie Lou Hamer found out about this attempt that was supposed to be pushed through Congress to force black women to get abortions. And she intervened, and it went what? Pushed underground. Because anything that they start, they always finish. In fact, before he became president of the United States, junior senator from Illinois, Barack Obama, also just engineered a bill before he got elected, okay, that puts X amount of millions of dollars directly into programs aimed at giving abortions to black teenage girls, not preventing pregnancy. I don't want y'all to confuse what I'm telling you. I didn't say putting money into preventing. It is to put money into programs that will have teenage girls get abortions. And that's Barack Obama, who's a whole nother topic. I'm not going to get into him because most of y'all couldn't take the truth if you knew it. Next slide down. I'm not going to do it. Abortion. Look at these stats. Since 1973, and I'm a 74 baby, so I'm 35 this coming August, God willing. So since 36 years ago, blacks have aborted 13 million children. 35 years. We ain't say since slavery. We said since I was born. 35 years, we have aborted 13 million babies in this country. 203,000 have died from AIDS. 306,000 were killed by violent crime. 370,000 killed by car accidents. 1.6 million black babies, people, have died of cancer. 2.3 million blacks have died of heart disease. And the winner is abortion. More of African life is exterminated from abortion than everything else put together. You see that? Now, people are saying what right now? That the Hispanic is about to take over and be the largest ethnic group in America. Yes, because you keep killing your babies. Had it not been for them 13 million abortions, the Hispanic would not be outstripping the African. But I don't want you to focus on that anyway. Because what is a Hispanic? The word Hispanic comes to us when? In 1970. By who? The United States Census Bureau. For what purpose? To divide African people on lines of language so people who speak Spanish who don't want to be black don't have to say they black. Did you just hear what I said? There are Puerto Ricans darker than anybody in this room. And there are Africans lighter than any Puerto Rican. My great-grandfather on both sides of my family tree were Spanish-speaking Cubans. If I wanted to, if I didn't have pride in race, I could easily call myself a Hispanic, go learn some Spanish, and I can go and hide in the other camp. See, nobody's proud to be black anymore because we're losing. We're on the bottom. If a young boy wants to join a football team, he don't go to the losing team, he goes to the winning team. And if the winning team won't take him like he is, he will manufacture a new identity so he can fit in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is it foreign to you? Next slide. Black women are 3 times more likely as white women to have an abortion. Why? Why are black women, and this is controlling for socioeconomic status, because somebody want to say, well, it's because they're poor. No, this controls for socioeconomic status. So a poor black woman is still 3 times more likely to have an abortion than a poor white woman. Do you want to know why? Because unconsciously, subconsciously, when you hate yourself, as we have been taught, The last thing you want is to see something else that looks just like you. And we go through great lengths to get rid of it. Michael Jackson, much respect to him, is a firm example of what self-hatred can do to a person. And I got a lot of respect for Mike. Although I dislike the fact that he married outside of his race, although I dislike the fact that he glorified white people, I respect him for being a musical genius. Michael Jackson was murdered by the music industry because he did not want to sell back the rights to the Beatles' music. You heard it here. If you don't believe me, go research it. In fact, last week, the LAPD said that they're going to start treating his death as a homicide, which is what I said the first day I knew he was murdered. A black man owns the rights to the music of the most successful white band in American history, and he owns some of Elvis's material.
Being the artist that I am, at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them. Yeah! So now I'm a free agent. Yeah. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know.
He was smart enough to know that the money in the music industry is not in making the song, it's in controlling the product. Michael Jackson was not broke by a long shot. He didn't have a lot of cash, but he had a lot of wealth. And they tried to force him to liquidate his wealth into cash, and he said, I would not do it. So when he was offered to do 50 concerts in Europe, nobody knew they would sell out in one day, 1 million tickets in less than 24 hours. But because it did, that was going to allow Michael Jackson the opportunity to make the $400 million that he was in debt for, pay it off, and keep the rights to the Beatles' music. So if they wanted to get the catalog back, they had to do what? Kill him before the tour started. And that's exactly what they did. It's the same thing they did to Sam Cooke after he told Malcolm and Martin that he was going to finance the civil rights struggle of the 60s. And he was the first major black artist to own his own publishing. Did you know that? Next slide. Anything I say, I can prove it. Every day, more than 1,400 black babies are aborted in the United States. Did you know that? Every day, 1,400 flushed down. Flushed down. Since 1970, the black community has aborted 13 million. 13 million. The reason why the so-called Hispanic, which is nothing but a Spanish-speaking African, is about to outstrip you is because they keep their babies. Yes, they do get abortions. They do. You understand? But because the menticide on them was not as severe as what was visited on you, they'll have a house full of 15 and be proud as hell. You have one more than two and you start looking like something wrong with you. They keep theirs. You get rid of yours. Next slide. You say that I don't have the money to take care of this child. But last time I checked, babies have been raised in the black community without 2 pennies to rub together since the beginning of time. Can I get an amen? Black women over 50 years old are 4.7 times more likely to get breast cancer if they had a prior abortion compared to women who have never aborted. Did you know that? This has been a scientific secret for years, that there's a direct link between abortion and cancer and black women. It's something about those fluids, those aborted fluids staying up in the womb that somehow ends up going up to the breast and causing all types of cancer problems. Just like there's a direct relationship between what? Antidepressant medicine, black women, and brain cancer, which is why I tell my sisters to find a good therapist, but don't get hooked on them drugs because they're very addictive and they do cause cancer. In fact, most of the psychotropic drugs that we give black children are not allowed to be prescribed to white children in the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Did you know that? They do not allow their children to take the same drugs we get here because their deadly potency. Something else you need to know. It wasn't until the turn of the century, the year 2000, that the Food and Drug Administration, for the first time in history, said what? That you could give a child adult psychotropic medicine. Nearly every drug that we give these babies was designed for adults. But in 2000, the FDA said, yes, you can give him and her drugs that were made for 30-year-old people. Does that make any sense to you? But this is what's going on, because we believe anything we see on TV. We believe anything the teacher tells us, the principal tells us, and they might be well-meaning individuals. But that's why you got to get a political consciousness, African people. You can no longer just swallow everything that's given, including what I'm saying. But the reason why I need you to research me as well as everybody else, because if you just accept what I say and don't research it, you'll accept the next man. I'm telling you the truth, he might be lying. So you got to get in the habit of questioning everything, especially what you see on CNN. Next slide. Black race versus white race. Black women abort 472 babies per every 1,000 black babies born. White women abort only 161 per 1,000. In fact, they love recreating themselves so much that they'll take fertility drugs and everything else to have more. You'll take fertility drugs so you can have none. Or you get the implants and then you take them out, you say you want to have children, they come out with 5 and 6 eyes and stuff like that. Because you're messing with Mother Nature and you're not supposed to be messing with that. Nearly half of all black pregnancies end in abortion. See that? We abort just under half of every baby conceived in our community. And it is a product, not that you ain't got enough money, it's self-hatred. Same reason why black men marry white women, self-hatred. And if you don't believe me, go to Frantz Fanon's book, Black Skin, White Mask. You should know Frantz Fanon, one of the greatest psychiatrists that ever lived. You ain't got to debate me, debate him. He's the master. Okay? Next slide. And I want to be clear. When I say that black men need to marry black women, I don't say it because I look down on white women. Okay? Women are equal, men are equal. No race is better than any other race. But men die sooner than women. So if I got $25 million and I marry a white woman, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to leave this earth before her. And she is not going to drive past Muskogee, Michigan and drop off a $20 check to the hood. Do you understand? That money goes to white people. Marriage is a business. And you don't get into business with anybody who you don't trust after you die with your estate. So we got to keep black money black, and that's why a black man got to marry a black woman. It's that simple. It ain't about them being less than. It's about us remembering who the hell we is, because we forgot. The queen mother of black abortion is a white woman. Did you know that? This woman, Margaret Sanger, was a part of the eugenics movement, which did not start with Hitler. Guess where Hitler got his ideas from? The United States of America. Did you know that? Yes. All he did was take what American scientists have taught him, and then he used it.
The eugenics movement has been at the forefront to establish a new scientific racism that justifies oppression and exploitation and racism. There is a clear and long and intimate connection between the eugenics movement and the Ku Klux Klan. Harry Laughlin, who was the Carnegie Institution's director of the Eugenics Record Office, had a close relationship to the Ku Klux Klan through the publication of a book called White America, which was written by a major Klan leader. So Laughlin wrote a glowing review of the book in the Eugenics News. And at the same time, you have the Ku Klux Klan using eugenics to justify their racist goals.
Margaret Sanger created Planned Parenthood in the 1920s to rid America of unwanted black babies. Planned Parenthood, 1920s, the same time that Garvey movement began to take off. Planned Parenthood rarely recommends adoption over abortion to black mothers. The research is clear. When a black woman goes to Planned Parenthood, get rid of it. White woman goes to Planned Parenthood, why don't you think about adoption? Why is that? And do you know that Planned Parenthood sites are disproportionately located inside or right next to black communities? Did you know that? Nationally. Now, there's more white people than black people. We only, 17% of the entire populace. So how is it that most of the Planned Parenthood sites are within or right next to where we sleep at? Because it was put there for you.